Hello everybody. How are we doing tonight so far? Been a busy weekend for me, just doing projects around the house, being the new year. So, uh, looking forward to doing a little, going over some more of the question pool and the new exam book with all the new question pools. We did kind of finish up on the last video the rules and regs sections. We'll be going on to the next section starting tonight. Go through a few of the questions. If there's anybody in the chat, go ahead and join in and throw some questions or answers up there if you feel so inclined. Not much else going on in the world here for me. Been tinkering with a lot of projects, getting things going. So let's go ahead and if we got anybody with a sound check, let me know if I'm sounding all right. Otherwise, we'll get right into it and start going over some questions. So feel free to go ahead and grab yourself a beverage of choice so we can enjoy and kick back and go from there. So let's get into some of the questions here. All right, so bear with me here. Put a little beverage in my glass. Drinking a little Lotion Mate chocolate stout tonight. So we'll see how that goes down the hatch tonight. I just kind of saw this. I think it was a Trader Joe's or something. We got it from. Boy, look at the head on that. Come out really good. Yeah, well, it's 15 years in the Coast Guard. I was a bosun mate, so of course anything namesake like that's kind of neat. So we'll go from there. All right, make sure we're been playing around with the cameras and everything else here lately, trying to make sure we're good here. So we can read along and see. So this section here is going to be sky waves and contesting. Track number 4 if you got the CD. I don't have the CD, so it's all about the ionosphere and just talking about how your propagation and everything works. So it's kind of neat. You got the Elmer and the new guy. I like that. So let's see if we can do a little learning tonight and maintain some. All right, so first question of sky waves and contesting. What is meant by the terms extraordinary and ordinary waves? Is it A, extraordinary waves describe rare long skip propagation compared to ordinary waves which travel shorter distances? Independent waves created in the ionosphere that are elliptically polarized? Or C, long path and short path waves? Or is it D, refracted rays and reflected waves? Anybody got a guess? Some of this stuff I just kind of go blank on after I pass the exam, so I haven't actually been doing any extra studying since I passed the general in August, so it's only been a few months and I've kind of stepped away from it. So this is a good refresher as well. Extraordinary and ordinary waves. Well, I think it's going to be A, your rare lawn skip propagation along with your standard, which are your shorter path. If not, it might be well, let's see what it comes out to be. Anytime you launch an HF signal into the ionosphere, it splits into 2 elliptically polarized characteristic waves. So the blue right there tells me that it's probably going to be the one being clockwise, O mode or ordinary, and one being counterclockwise, X mode or extraordinary. These two waves follow very different paths, especially near polar regions where the Earth's magnetic field is strong. So B is the correct answer. See? This is helpful to learn, and especially helpful when I see that I'm wrong when I take what I find to be a reasonable guess. Make sure my mic isn't muted. I'm just double checking something here. How's that in the frame? There we go. Just want to make sure that I'm... There we go. All right, next question. What happens to linearly polarized radio waves that split into ordinary and extraordinary waves in the ionosphere? Is it A, they are bent toward the magnetic poles? B, they become depolarized? C, they become elliptically polarized? Or D, they become phase-locked? I'm going to say elliptically polarized, since it's up here talking about being elliptically polarized. In the northern magnetic hemisphere, the clockwise elliptically wave is known as the O for ordinary wave, and the counterclockwise elliptically wave is known as the X for extraordinary wave. These two waves, or rays, can take vastly different paths around the Earth. Folks who operate in the Arctic for the first time are usually surprised to discover the great circle paths mean almost nothing. So the answer is C, elliptically polarized. Don't want to read ahead or skip ahead for anybody. So, all right. What is meant by circularly polarized electromagnetic waves? Is it A, waves with an electric field bent into the circular shape? B, waves with rotating electrical field? C, waves that circle the Earth? Or D, waves produced by long or a loop antenna? I think I'm probably wrong on this one again. I'm thinking A or C myself because of, but let's see what they do. Some satellite enthusiasts will use circular polarized to improve their transmission and reception through an orbiting satellite. With circular polarization, the electric field rotates. It could be right-hand circular or left-hand circular, depending on the antenna feed system. So B. What I don't know, but I'm learning as I go here with the amateur radio. I like it. That's why I do this. Some of this stuff starts sticking in my mind because I'm doing it along with everybody else. And it kind of shows a little bit of a depiction here. I don't want to go too far. Okay. All right, so we can see the depiction a little bit, and I'll talk showing your different waves and what have you. So. What does VoyaCap software model? So, let's see here. VOACAP, the VoyaCap software. What does that model? A, AC voltage and impedance. B, VHF radio propagation. C, HF propagation. Or D, DC current and impedance. I grab my marker I dropped. Okay. Sporting the t-shirt with the logo tonight. Got to order some more samples because I've kind of redesigned the logo a little bit so it shows a little clearer on any colored t-shirt. So definitely check out my link on the site there for Teespring. Check out some of the t-shirts. Let me know what you think. Okay. Make sure it's in the screen here. So the Voice of America Coverage Analysis Program, or VoyaCap, it is one of the oldest and most familiar HF radio propagation tools. Other programs such as IonoCap, were derived from VoyaCap. If you're an avid contester or casual DXer, you can benefit from learning how to use VoyaCap and its kin. So C, HF propagation. All right, next question. What does the radio communications term ray tracing describe? A, the process in which an electronic display presents a pattern. B, modeling a radio wave's path through the ionosphere. C, determining radiation pattern from any array of antennas. Or D, evaluating high voltage sources for X-rays. So, the best propagation prediction tool involved the use of ray tracing for modeling a radio wave's path through the ionosphere. So it's going to be B. While ray tracing programs have been around for a long time, only recently have they become readily available to the radio amateur, and they still use considerable processing power. If you use a program such as ProLab Pro 3 to generate a detailed 3D ray trace, it is best to make a new pot of coffee or watch a sitcom while it does its number crunching. Even if you have a screaming fast computer, hopefully the propagation hasn't changed too much by the time your computer issues the answer. And the answer is B on that, modeling a radio wave's path through the ionosphere. All right, so it kind of shows a little bit of the program here. Ray tracing give a 3D view of the path your signal travels around the world. Kind of neat. Trying to keep it center frame and out of the frame of me here a little bit, so bear with me, guys. All right. Which of the following amateur bands most frequently provides long path propagation? A, 80 meters, B, 20 meters, C, 10 meters, or D, 6 meters? I would originally say 80 meters normally, but I'll be honest with you, off of my antenna and equipment, I've had the best reach with 20 meters. The term long path describes working a station in the opposite direction from the one that is closest to your location. The amateur radio 20-meter band is the best one for long path. Well, hence why I get better with my 20 meters. With relatively modest directional antenna system, when you pass your upcoming extra exam, you'll gain an exclusive 20 meter CW window from 14.000 to 14.025 megahertz, and an exclusive extra class window from 14.150 to 14.175 megahertz for CW, voice and data. These are great for working rare 20 meter DX on a band shared only with other extra class operators in the United States. So B, 20 meters is your best long path band. Okay. Which amateur bands typically supported or support long-term or long path propagation? A, only 160 to 40 meters. B, only 30 meters to 10 meters. C, 160 meters to 10 meters, or D, 6 meters to 2 meters. Long range, long path propagation can be found on the worldwide bands from 10 meters down to 160 meters. Expect almost daily long path propagation on 20 meters, which is the best in the late evening or early morning hours. We'll see 160 to 10. And a little good to know thing here, it shows in the book. Once you earn your extra class license, you'll stay up for long hours working rare DX. Just as the sun is rising here, it is setting over Europe or Asia. Working stations in the twilight at both ends of the circuit may lead to some extraordinary DX contacts that can last up to 30 minutes. This is called gray line propagation. So it kind of shows your gray line between daylight and nighttime. Gray line conditions follow the sun's terminator. It is a 10-minute opportunity at great DX for stations at each end of the gray line terminator. Okay, next question. What might... There we go. Sorry about that, folks. What might help restore contact when DX signals become too weak to copy across an entire HF band a few hours after sunset? A, switch to a higher frequency HF band. B, switch to a lower frequency HF band. C, wait 90 minutes or so for the signal degradation to pass. Or D, wait 24 hours before attempting another communication on the band. I'm going to say it's either switch to a lower frequency and or you'd wait your 24 hours for the next period to be good again. We are just beginning solar cycle 25 and our popular 20 meter band is waking up again. Better yet, there are now daily openings on 15 meters and 17 meters too. But when the upper HF bands close in the evening, switch to the next lower band and enjoy some fun DX. So it is B, switch to your lower frequency HF band. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Let's go into the next question here. Why is chordal hop propagation desirable? A, the signal experiences less loss compared to multi-hop using Earth as a reflector. B, the maximum usable frequency for the chordal hop propagation is much lower than for normal skip propagation. C, atmospheric noise is lower in the direction of the chordal hop propagation. Or D, signals travel faster along the ionospheric chords. I think you're going to have less loss on your on like a instead of a multi-hop. Chordal hop signals can be unusually strong, experiencing less loss compared to skip propagation. There is even some tantalizing evidence that amplification can take place along a chordal hop path. This process can be duplicated in the plasma physics laboratory. While it is unknown for all of the proper conditions indeed exist in the wind, this is wide open for further amateur experimentation. Chordal hop signals always occur along the dark path opposite the sun. So it is A. Next question. What is the primary characteristic of chordal hop propagation? Is it A, propagation away from the great circle bearing between stations? B, successive ionospheric refractions without an intermediate reflection from the ground? C, propagation across the geomagnetic equator? Or D, signals reflected back toward the transmitting station? I almost think it's going to be A again. Chordal hop propagation can result in some surprisingly loud signals, especially on 80 meters. Since there are no ground reflections in between sky reflections, the losses are much less than normal multi-hop propagation. One additional indication that chordal hop is in play is that there's a huge dead skip zone in the middle of the path, which is along the dark side of the earth. B. Well, you're kind of thinking along A, but it's B is the correct answer. Kind of shows a nice picture here. Chip's homebrew 10-meter beam gets a shot at chordal hop propagation on the 10-meter band for loud DX signals. And that's just kind of a picture of the homebrew antenna that he's doing. Speaking of antennas, I got a new one coming to put up here for my station. I've got a Alpha Delta 160 through to all the lower bands dipole. Mainly it's supposed to be 160, 80, and 40 on the main, and then it's got a couple of almost like, you know, it's their version of a fan dipole, so that way you've got 20 through 10 on the lower bands. I've got that coming, so once I get that, I'll get that up, and then I'll have two different HF antennas that I can switch between and hopefully improve some of my signal. Okay. What is a transequatorial propagation? That's a mouthful. A, propagation between two mid-latitude points at approximately the same distance north and south of magnetic equator. B, propagation between points located on the magnetic equator. C, propagation between a point on the equator and its antipodal point. Or D, propagation between points at the same latitude. Well, I'm guessing at this one too. They ain't lying when they say the extra is above and beyond any of the other tests you've taken so far. Transequatorial propagation. Something tells me it might be C. A transequatorial signal is propagated between stations north and south of the magnetic equator. Some of the best contacts have been between Florida and countries in South America. Any stations in contact with each other are about the same distance away from the equator. Ideal conditions for TE contact, CW, as well as single sideband are normal modes for TE on VHF and UHF bands. Well, we've gone through 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 11. Okay. Let's see what comes up here in the next one here. Do a few more. I've been shooting for probably about max of about 15 questions, just so it doesn't take too long. You know, it's not too much. It's a good study and review back and forth. So, good news is, watching the my system here, the interference I had on the last live show doing this between cameras, where I kept getting like some interference on the one camera. I fear I may have resolved that and fixed it, so that's good. And I did get another a different camera here for overhead shot. It's got a little bit of a focus, so that seems to be working well, and to be a good view on the book here for overhead shot. So things are getting better. I like it. Things are, you know, allowing me to make a little better videos. So, okay, next question. What is the approximate maximum range for signals using transequatorial propagation? Something tells me it has to do with, kind of in the last question, talking about equal distance from the equator. A, 1,000 miles, B, 2,500 miles, C, 5,000, or D, 7,500. I'm thinking a lot of your distance has been the previous exams I've taken. The max was like 2,500 miles. Maybe 2,500 miles each side of the equator. I don't know. It's a guess. It's either going to be 2,500 or I might be correct at saying C, 5,000. The maximum total distance for transequatorial contact is about 5,000 miles. Good guess. The answer is C. I got lucky on that one, folks. This is good. This is doing this like this live, or, you know, doing the videos on YouTube for everybody to kind of go study along with me. Helps me with the retention, and so maybe I can get my exam before too long. I was hoping to get it before any fees and all that were implemented, but looking at the one of the live streams last night, might be about $35 now on an upgrade. So here's a little thing showing the transequatorial propagation. You got your F2 layer here, your distance 1 and distance 2, equal distance off the equator. Transequatorial propagation to occur, stations D1 and D2 must be equal distant from the geomagnetic equator. Popular theory is that reflections occur in and off the F2 layer during peak sunset activity. So there we go, folks. I want to hit the blue. Anything in blue and these extra notes are always good food for thought for everybody. So, okay, next question. What is the best time of day for transequatorial propagation? Well, we just talked about sunspot during peak sunspot activity, and that's usually going to be probably height of midday. A, morning, B, noon, C, afternoon or early evening, or D, late at night. I'm going to say noon. The best time of day for TE propagation is the mid-afternoon or early evening. So basically right after, eat your lunch, take your nap, and when you get up, go ahead and do your transequatorial propagation. By this time of day, the sun's ultraviolet radiation has had time to warm up the possible path. So it is C, afternoon or early evening. So let the sun hit noon, warm up them airwaves for you, and then Then key up. Next question here. What might be indicated by a sudden rise in radio background noise across a large portion of the HF spectrum? A temperature inversion has occurred. B, a solar flare has occurred. C, increased transequatorial propagation is likely, or long path propagation is likely. I think probably a solar flare. While having a steady bath of UV radiation is good for the ionosphere, being blasted with hard X-rays and charged particles from a solar flare is not. During such an event, radio absorption in the D layer can be almost total. In addition, gigantic blobs of fast-moving charged particles tend to wrinkle the ionosphere to the point that it's no longer reflective or refractive layer. An increase in noise also results in ionized particles, primarily in the D layer, recombined and emit vast quantities of random radio waves. So the answer is B. With that, that's somewhere around probably 12 to 15 questions, so we'll call it a night on that. But there's a little depiction here of a spectrum, and it says all those band wiggles on the scope are noise pulses from the ionosphere during a solar storm. So maybe that'll kind of make some sense to you. And again, folks, if you're joining in after or watching after this is uploaded, this is all the new 2020 to 2024 extra class element 4 study guide. It's all the new and current question pools that I'm going over. So hopefully that is helping you as much as it's helping me doing these videos. So alrighty, folks. I appreciate everybody joining in tonight. We'll do another session here at another point, going over more of the same questions out of the next section there, the sky waves and propagation. I hope you're enjoying what I'm doing. If you've got any feedback or want to join in on the live stream along with me to kind of throw out some answers along with it, kind of liven this up and maybe make it a little more less straightforward, so we can kind of have a little more engagement, please message me, leave a comment below, and always, please subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell so you're updated when I'm doing another video, and as always, get on the air.